Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 24th edition of our Cardano Developers Office. I'm Darlisa, your host for today's session. So whatever you're building the apps, creating custom APIs, or just curious about everything Cardano, you're absolutely in the right place. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click in the link in the chat. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And here's a little bonus. Hang tight until the end of the session, and you're going to be dropping 100% discount voucher for your CBCA exam. Today, you're diving into the awesome world of Cardano indexing with Satya Ranjan. He's going to show us Yaci Store, a super powerful tool that makes indexing simple and efficient. So whether you're Java Pro or not, get ready for practical tips and tricks that series is going to boost your projects. Without further ado, Satya, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Dalisa. Let me share my screen. Welcome to Yaci Store pluggable indexing beyond Java. So you must be guessing from the name why it's beyond Java. So today's session is mostly for non-Java developers and how they can use Yaci Store for indexing Cardano data. So if you're hearing about Yaci Store first time, so Yaci Store is a modular blockchain indexer for Cardano. It's built in Java. It indexes all on-chain data like blocks, transaction, UTXOs, metadata, or any other data you can think of within Cardano. And it also calculates ledger state, which includes both reward calculation and governance state calculation. And in the current beta released, which is 2.0.0 beta 3, ledger state calculation is in beta phase. That's why we have tagged the release as beta, but all other modules are production ready. You can use them in your production deployment. Yaci Store supports PostgreSQL, MySQL, and H2 as database. Postgres is recommended for production. H2 is for your testing, or H2 also we use H2 in Yaci CLI tool. And Yaci Store works in two different modes. We have some out-of-box indexers, and we'll go through those later. And Yaci Store can also be used as a library, basically a Spring Boot library in a Java application. And finally, it's a Spring Boot application, so it provides easy integration with other Spring Boot applications as a library. So just to give a very high-level architecture or design of Yaci Store, how it works, because this is important when you are writing your own plugin for Yaci Store. So we have Cardano node and Yaci Store as a Yaci Store basically tries to read data from Cardano node through Yaci and then start creating, batching this data in multiple threads. And if you see here, there are various events published by Yaci Store publisher, like block event, transaction event, and all those events are processed in parallel and also inserted into the database in parallel. But you can also see there is an event called commit event here, and which is basically once everything is processed in a batch, let's say a batch of 200 blocks, commit event is published, and in some scenarios we cannot do parallel processing, so that's why the commit event is there, and those kind of processing is done through commit event. And we also have a rollback event. If there's a rollback event in the Cardano node, we trigger a rollback event and we do the rollback related processing. So this is a very high level architecture of Yaci Store, and there are different layers here. The middle layer is a processing layer, and then we have a storage layer, and storage layer we have predefined storage interface or standard storage interfaces, and those interfaces could be custom implemented in a different way. Like, let's say you don't want to use Postgres or MySQL, you want to use Redis, you can implement your own storage interface. But those can be done through Java. So now let's see what are the out-of-box indexers available in Yaci Store. So in Yaci Store, we have several applications before, but now we are trying to actually deprecate those, and we want to want to keep only one application, which is called Yaci Store app, which is the main app which bundles all the modules, and everything is enabled except ledger state calculation, but it can also be enabled by changing a config in a env file. The second application is Yaci Store Admin CLI. It's a CLI tool which basically helps you to apply optional indexes after the sync, right? Once the sync reaches tip, you can actually run this tool to apply all these optional indexes which are required for the API endpoints. Because if you apply those indexes before the sync, maybe it may have some impact on the sync time. That's why we have kept it separately, and so it's a separate operation which can be done later. Distribution type, yes, Yaci Store has like three kind of distribution currently. Yeah, Docker distribution, which comes with a comes as a zip file. Inside the zip file, you'll find a startup script and Docker Compose file and all other record files. And today we'll be focusing on the Docker distribution. And the second distribution type is a zip distribution, basically bundling all the jars, Yaci Store specific jars. And this is a non-Docker distribution, so you can have your own Java runtime, and you can use this distribution if you want. And the third one is native distribution, which is platform-specific distribution of Yaci Store, which is still in preview or experimental, I would say, but it's very lightweight, very good startup time. It can be used as a read-only deployment for Yaci Store. Let's say you have one Yaci Store node which is syncing data, and you have multiple Yaci Store just to read data. So in that setup, probably it can be used. And native distribution is also used in Yaci Dev Kit. So why customizing indexing? Because one of the powerful feature of Yaci Store is you can actually customize indexing. So you can choose what data you want to store, what data you don't want to store. Everything is configurable. So default behavior of Yaci Store, as I mentioned, is store all the data because all modules are enabled except ledger state calculation. But in many projects, you only need, let's say, metadata with specific label, which is specific to your application, or you want to store, let's say, UTXO for a specific address, or you want to have some custom logic before storing your data, or you want to react to a on-chain event in real time. Let's say something changed or some address balance change. You want to notify through Discord or through other channels. Those kind of requirement can be there for the application. So currently, what are the customization options we have? We had before. So you can use out-of-box indexer application, and you can actually change, enable and disable different stores. Like if you don't want metadata, you can disable metadata store. If you don't want governance data, just disable governance store in a config file, which is called application.properties file. There is a second option, which is mainly for Java developers, and which is quite powerful and is being used in many Java applications like Rosetta Java or Reeves, and many in Cardano Foundation, where basically you can override any implementation, default implementation. Like you can override default storage implementation. You can listen to any events, like block event, address event, or any derived event, and you can do your own stuff. But this is only limited to Java, and that's what we're now going to change in the current release. So in the current release, we have introduced something called plugin framework. What it means, right now you can write your plugin, which is a custom logic in any language, like language listed here. Like you can write in MBEL. MBEL is a simple expression language, and SPEL is a Spring expression language, but it's very limited. And you can also write your plugin in JavaScript and Python. What happens when you write this plugin or custom logic? Those are as a plugin, those will be injected into the Yaci Store data pipeline. And some of the thing, like you can filter data, and you can say, okay, you want to store this kind of data, you want to transform data this way. So we're going to go through a few demos. So you'll have more idea what I'm saying here. And what plugin can do, as I mentioned, it can control what to store, and you can also inject additional logic, and you can also listen to any Yaci Store event like we are currently doing with Java projects. And all these things can be done without changing anything in the Yaci code. So you don't need to have we don't need to release any new version of Yaci Store. You can just download the default distribution and start writing your plugin. Yeah. So what are the different kind of plugin available supported in the current version? Because this is the very first version of plugin framework. So these are the plugins currently supported, plugin types. So there is storage plugin, where there are like 3 types of storage plugin: filter, pre-action, and post-action. Each storage plugin attached to some predefined storage extension point. And these are documented in Yaci Store documentation side. I'll go through it. So what does filter plugin does? It decides whether to store some data or not. So whenever a save method in a storage implementation is called, the filter plugin will be triggered with some domain object. Let's say you want to target for UTXO unspent save, and and you attach the filter plugin to UTXO unspent save storage extension. So what would happen when the UTXO storage will try to save some UTXO data? It will make a call to filter plugin with a list of UTXO it's trying to save. And filter plugin, what it will do, it will basically go through the filter logic, and it will return the filter list which can be stored. And the pre-action plugin is another kind of plugin which is also attached to storage extension point, which is called after filter plugin. It also takes list of object, and it also returns uh, another list of object which will be passed to the storage method. And finally, post-action plugin, which is called after storage is done, saving is done, then you want to, let's say, send some notification, or you want to do some other job. Those can be done in the post-action plugin. And post-action plugin doesn't return anything. It just, you want to do some action. And there is another kind of plugin called event handler plugin. Event handler plugins are like using this plugin, you can actually listen to any kind of events published in Yaci Store, like block event, transaction event, or any derived event in Yaci Store. And these are mostly suitable for notification logging, or you want to do external integration, like you want to send a Discord message, you want to send data to Redis, or you want to send data to Kafka, or you want to uh, send data to Telegram bot. You can think of anything, any external integration should be possible through event handler plugin. Okay, this is the flow I just mentioned. So filter plugin is invoked first, then it returns a list of filtered objects. Then pre-action plugin is invoked, then it returns filtered and transformed object if you want to transform something, and then the storage implementation is called, and then the post-action plugin is invoked. And all these white boxes can be written in JavaScript, Python, ML, or SPL. No, SPL is not supported for all type. SPL is only supported for filter plugin. Okay, so what is binding variable? So binding variables are something which are basically out of box predefined variable which can be used in the plugin. Because for example, there's a variable called db, which is JDBC or name JDBC. Those are the variables exposed to the plugin developer, so that the plugin developer can access to the access database. There are variables like HTTP, where you can which can be used to make HTTP call. And those are very simple binding variables. And methods are like not like too verbose. It can be used in any plugin types. And you can also introduce your own binding variable, but for that, currently you need to write a Java class which implement something in a separate project, and you can also import that or put the jar in a predefined location, so that those can be available in the available for the plugin developers. But you don't need to change anything in the code for that. So these are the available binding variables we have. So JDBC, which is JDBC help for direct access to JDBC access, and name JDBC is little bit simpler than JDBC, I would say. And HTTP is a simple HTTP client API targeted for plugin developers. env is to get environment variable with methods like get properties or contents key, something like that. And global state is something which is, let's say you want to maintain some state which can be retrieved by any other plugin, is then you can use global state. It's like a hash map where you can store any kind of data. And finally, the state variable is basically it's a plugin specific local state. So the state variable is on when you get when you type state, it's basically attached to your plugin type, right? We'll have it. We have a demo. We'll go through it later. And as I already mentioned, we can also easily extend custom these variables by providing custom variable providers. And it's just as another Java application you write, bundle it, just one implementation and bundle it in a jar, put your jar, it will be immediately available. You don't need to change anything in Yaci Store. And the way I see is it can be written by anyone, right? So let's say someone write a custom variable provider for Telegram bots, right? So it's a utility class which is in a Java project, which is then bundled, and we can copy it to our Yaci Store external jar folder, and then any plugin developer can use that particular variable. So there is a way how to do that, but yeah, so it's basically extend the current Yaci Store capability without changing anything in the core. So some of the examples, like let's say someone wants to provide a variable provider for Redis, right? You can write it. Someone wants to provide a custom variable provider for Discord util or so on. Okay, so there are some known limitation currently we have in Python plugin, I would say mostly, or JavaScript plugin. In Python plugin, because we are using Graal VM to execute this Python plugin. Native extensions are supported, but native extension can be used only one plugin instance at a time. There is a experimental support on Linux where native extension can be used in many plugins. But if it's a pure Python third-party package, you can directly use it. There is no issue. JavaScript plugin, I think you cannot use any Node.js specific packages in JavaScript plugin. But if it's a pure JavaScript library, which then is fine. Okay, the doc site is basically store.yaci.xyz, and there's a getting started guide, which takes you through how to basically start a simple plugin to a complex plugin. And there's a plugin API reference which talks about all the domain classes, different extension point, and hopefully everything is covered there. And because this is quite new, if you find any issues, please let us know, and we'll make it correct. And this demo time. So too much theory, so let's go through some demo. So in this demo, basically we are trying to cover a few things, and let's see what we can cover. We have limited time, but okay. So I'll now jump to my ID. Hopefully it is visible, or should I increase the font? So let me. Okay. Okay. So let's start. So when you go to Yaci Store, you can see there are like three types of distribution here, or two types of distribution. Yaci Store 2.0, the very first one is the jar distribution, and the third one is the Docker distribution. So what I have done, I have basically taken this Docker distribution and um, extracted it here. So it's exactly same. So I'm just using ID so that we can test everything inside ID, checking database and every other thing. So when you extract, you'll be getting this folder structure, something like this. We'll have a plugin XML, YML, which will be basically empty, and by default it will be false. So basically the very first thing, let's see, when you try to run. So Yaci Store, you can just do Yaci Store start. And by default, I mentioned it has like all the modules enabled, right? So if I do Yaci Store logs now, Okay, let me stop whole thing and clean up. Okay, so let's start. So it is currently started. It's trying to start Postgres and the Yaci Store. So by default, it should it should get all the data because all the modules are enabled except ledger state, and you should be able to see the data. So what I have done for this demo, I have actually set a custom start point. So if I go here, by default, Yaci Store will start from beginning or the genesis point, but we are here starting from a particular slot and slot. So now if I go here in the database, it's the same database. You can see we have address UTXO, blocks. Sorry, maybe blocks is disabled. As usual, I forgot to enable everything because I was trying something just before this demo. Let's see what are the which modules are enabled or disabled. Dot yeah. Okay, so because I had already customized this property file, so that's why you can see here the asset is store is enabled and the UTXO store is enabled. So that's why if you go to address UTXO, we see some data, and but in all other tables we will not have any data. It's basically empty. But if I go to assets table, um, which is here, we have some data. So this is basically, it's already customized through this application property only for assets and address UTXO table. So but if I just comment this and then I'll just stop Yaci Store now. And I'll go to the database and drop this schema. Okay, and start again. So by default, everything enabled, so we should be able to see. This is connecting to mainnet, and we're starting from this point. So now if I see here, let's take a block table. We have some data in the block. We have address UTXO. Similarly, if you see datum, so everything is there. But we probably don't need all those data. So that's why in the previous demo, I showed like you can enable and disable whatever store you want here, right? So this is one way of customization. But with if your store is enabled, it will store all the data specific to the store. Like say if UTXO store is enabled, it will store all UTXO. But in the next demo, like which will be like for a plugin, let's stop this. Stop Yaci Store, and our first demo, let's try this. So we're going to write our first demo, and for first one, let's say we enabled, let's enable metadata store, and sorry. Okay, so let's enable metadata and assets and UTXO. These are the three. So our demo will be focusing on these three stores for now. So, and let's go to plugin YML file and make this to true. And I'll copy paste few things here. Yeah, so this is our very first plugin. where we want to do, we have a filter plugin here, which is attached to metadata.save, and we want to filter by metadata label here in this case. And what we want to, and the language we are going to use it for MWell in this case, and the expression is basically this is basically the domain object, in this case, the metadata label. So we want to say, we're basically saying wherever the label is 721, store it, otherwise ignore it. And the second plugin is basically UTXO unspent save. And here we're saying, okay, filter all high value UTXOs, the UTXO which has loveless amount greater than 1000 ADA, right? So with this, I have enabled already plugin plugins. I think I forgot one more. Yeah, enable true. And now if I try to stop it, I already stopped. And let me drop the schema again and start again. So when I drop schema, it should be gone. Yeah. So now if I check the log again, Yaci Store is coming up, but the expected behavior is should only store metadata with level 721 and only high value UTXOs where the loveless amount is greater than 1000 ADA. So now if I expand it and go to address UTXO, now you can see, hopefully, yeah, all the UTXOs are like loveless amount greater than 1000 ADA. And then if I go to metadata, transaction metadata, and you can see only the transaction metadata with 721 level. Yeah, so this is a very basic example, but before this release, we had to basically write one Java Spring Boot project and write some storage implementation, put some logic, build our Java project. But here, just with few lines of config, it's done. So this is our very first demo of Yaci Store for metadata label and UTXO. Let's try another one, which is SPL plugin. It's a little bit complex, but it's actually, you can see how concise it is to do some checks in the nested object, right? So it's like in UTXO, we have amount field. In amount, we have policy ID. So what you are trying to say here, store metadata with label 721. For UTXO case, only store UTXO with policy ID, this one. So if you see amounts, it's an array. Inside that array, wherever you find policy ID, if there is any such amounts in the list greater than 0, then yeah, just store it, right? So what I'm going to do, I already stopped Yaci Store. Again, I will delete the database and again start. And in this case, behavior will be exactly same, but only thing is now the UTXO for this policy ID will be stored. And in this case, the language for this plugin is SPL. And now if I go to address UTXO, yeah, so it's not storing anything because maybe there is no UTXO for this policy ID yet. But believe me, it will store. Maybe I have put an incorrect policy ID in this case, but yeah, it should appear here. But we can jump to the next demo, which is probably a little bit more complex. So we can stop it here and let's jump to the next one. So next one, what we're going to do, we're let me go through it. Enable true. Okay, so here basically we're trying to find USDM minting. So this is mainnet data is connecting to mainnet network. So we're trying to add a filter where whenever we're storing any asset, assets are stored, asset table is triggered. This extension point is basically there to capture mint and burn of any assets, right? So in this case, we are trying to capture assets only where unit is this, which is basically the policy ID and asset name unit for the USDM um, token. And whenever there is a minting or burning of USDM is happening, what you are doing, we are getting a Discord URL, which is defined in our application properties. I'm not going to open it because the key is there, and there's a Discord URL, and it will try to find out if it's mint or burn, and then it will send a message to Discord. So every time USDM is minted or a mint or burn is happening, we'll get a Discord message, right? So let's go through it. So same thing. Let's drop the schema, and I'll just verify our start point. Okay, so this will be basically after 1st May, whatever USDM mint is happening should be captured now. So let's start this again. And in this case, only the asset table will be populated, and then because we have already enabled address UTXO, those will be also populated. But yeah, so now if you see where you have already have started getting this USDM mint with a mint amount and the block number, and it will just continue like that. And after some time, we'll also get burn event, and you can see how easy to basically integrate with the Discord. And the same thing basically is also possible with the Telegram or any other place wherever we have a webhook. Okay, so hopefully this is okay. So and this was done with a MBL plugin with an inline script. And inline script is easiest one to just put it here, but you can also write a separate script and then refer it like a script tag. So what I'll do, I'll just stop this because otherwise it will keep sending all these messages. So okay, I stopped it. So okay, this is how we did for the MBEL. So next one we'll basically do the same thing, but with JavaScript, and we'll also introduce some other concept. So here, if you see, we have the same exact filter, but here we have event handler, which is a JavaScript event handler, and we are pointing to a file here, which is mounted into our local folder here in the plugin folder, and the function is handle USDT mint, right? And in this case, if you go to script, because I've already created this script before, USDM script, so it's basically doing exactly the same thing, but in JavaScript, getting a Discord URL and doing the same thing, but it's just sending it to JavaScript. So what I'm going to do now, I've already stopped. Okay, not everything. Okay, so I'll start it again. By mistake, I stopped Postgres also, but it should be up quickly. And meanwhile, what I'll do, I'll basically put some message here so that we know whatever message we are getting is from JavaScript. Okay, maybe there is no minting yet. Yeah, so we can now see that this minting messages coming from JavaScript, and earlier was from MBEL. So the same thing which you can do with the MBEL can be also done with JavaScript, and can be also done with the Python. And only difference here is instead of putting the plugin script code inside our YML file, it's a separate file with a JavaScript function. And yes, so let's move to the next one then. Let's try something with Python. Let me go to plugin YML again. And now we have a Python, it's pointing to a Python script. And in this case, if I open this Python script, yeah, the pattern is a little bit different here. And just for this demo, what I want to show here, the script you can also define in the global level at the top. And you define the script file, and we can then refer this script as an ID in this case. So you don't need to repeat the file again and again if you have multiple plugin pointing to the same script file. And there is another one called enable pool here, which is false. What it means basically, same Python context will be used in every thread, but in a synchronized way. So you can also maintain some state in our um, Python object. So now let me stop this first because it's sending me all these messages. Okay, so now if I go to the Python function here, which is basically this file, it's doing exactly same. And we'll now see there is a count variable here, which is defined at the global level, not inside the function. And every time there's a mint happening, the count should increase. So the goal of this demo is to so that, okay, how we are maintaining state inside the plugin. And this is just one way of maintaining state. Um, so what I'm going to do, I'll basically drop this again, drop schema. And I'll start Yaci Store. So it should be up very quickly. Okay, and the meanwhile, I'll just put some message here so that we know it's coming from Python. Yeah, so you can now see it's coming from Python. And every time there's a mint or something come, so we have a counter which is getting increased, right? 1, 2, 3. So the state is being maintained. Yeah, probably it doesn't make sense in this case, but we can have some scenario where you want to maintain some state, and whenever you are doing something the next time you want to use it somewhere. Yeah, because Yaci Store is basically there's all this parallel processing. Sometimes maintaining state is a little bit complicated. So again, this is done. Let's go to a little bit interesting one then. Let me find out if okay, so let's see how we can use a third-party library in the application, right? So like a Python package. Um, so in the next demo, which will be again a Python one, but here we are referring to another Python script, and we have set something called Python virtual environment here, which is already set up uh, inside script folder in the GraalPy. Currently, this can be done through a init GraalPy script, but this script is not currently included in the distribution. But we'll make this script available somewhere, and probably next release we'll have this script inside our standard distribution so that you can also create a virtual environment somewhere. And once the virtual environment is there, you can install all your third-party packages there and just refer it like this Python virtual environment, and then you can use those third-party library inside your Python. So in advanced Python, what we are doing here, um, it's basically same. We're tracking USDM unit, and whenever the mint and burn is happening, it's trying to basically plot a chart here. I think it's a bar chart. Yeah. So we're using a Python package which is plotly, right? So let's see, and the chart will be basically generated somewhere here in this folder. And let me quickly verify. Yes. So start point is correct. So what I can do now, I'll stop the schema and I'll start again. And this is not sending anything to Discord or anywhere. It's just whenever there is a mint happening, it should update the chart. So let me. Okay, so yeah, so there's a chart folder. I think which one? Mint one chart. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, so it's coming. So you can see now it's basically as we're getting. So far we have only mints, but as it will get burns and other stuff, it will basically update this chart. So this could be, yeah, we got a burn also. So think about Yaci Store is running, a Python plugin is listening to all this mint operation and plotting the chart, putting into a HTML file, and then the chart is being updated and shown in another web page, right? In Python application or any application, it really doesn't matter. So okay, and it will just continue like this. So this way we can use also any Python package. Yeah, there are some limitation. Probably we'll try to document somewhere which Python libraries have supported, which are not. Yeah, so this is uh, final Python demo, and final demo probably I'll show one more, which is probably quite useful one. Let's say you want to capture only UTXO for a particular address, right? And currently, so that let's say it's a wallet application, you want to just keep your own UTXO, and it's also applied to the spent UTXO input table. So you don't want to capture any other data and to keep your database size minimum. So, and this is what you can do. And just for simplicity and to demonstrate, I put everything like an inline script. So what we are doing here, we're doing a filter, and we're saying, okay, just filter for the owner address, whatever this address is there, you store this UTXO because it's attached to UTXO unspent save. And in the post action, we're targeting the same extension point. And if we find any record to save, and then we are putting this into a global state, saying, okay, UTXO found. This is how you access global state. There is a bug here, but it will be removed, but it's available for every plugin. And then in event handler, we are listening to commit event. And in commit event, basically, you are trying to delete any other transaction input which are not specific to this particular address. And then finally, in the commit event, there is another plugin attached here, which is basically calculating the current balance. If there is a transaction happened for this particular address in a block, it will recalculate the balance and send a discord message, right? So anytime there is something happening, it will basically calculate your balance and send you notification. Okay, you have this amount of ADA in your account at your address. And for this, we'll just start with this start point, because this is, I just took a random address wherever, and this is the starting point of that address or the first transaction whenever happened for this particular address. And what I'm going to do, I'm basically disable everything, and we can see the amount of data we need to store in this case. So I'll disable for assets. We also don't need metadata, so I'll make it false. So we have only UTXO enabled here, right? So what I'm going to do now, as usual, I'll stop it and then drop the schema and start again. And I check the log here now. So there are multiple plugins attached there, multiple different kind of plugins. One to filter, another one to clean up transaction input. Yeah, so now if I go here, you can now see I started getting unspent UTXO balance for this address at block is this loveless, right? And it will start pushing this balance whenever there is a transaction, because this is like a historical block. So I'm getting now Yeah, so it's perfect for the wallet applications. So if I go to my address UTXO table, so you can see there are only 25 UTXO, right, which is specific to this address, and some are spent, some are probably not spent. So to find out if it is spent or not, you have to go to transaction input, which has only 35 rows, right? Think about like UTXO table with 90 GB of data, and here in this case probably you have just UTXO which matters to you, only UTXO specific to a address. Also, if you have like multiple address, also that the script can be changed and it can easily serve that, and we're getting notification. So this was the last demo for today, and let me go back to the slide again. Yes, so what we're going to do next, I think that because this is the very first release, so a lot of things are still pending. So we need to enrich some of the events so that whenever the plugin is getting an event, so it has all the data to take the decision. For example, let's say metadata event, which only has like metadata label and metadata content, but doesn't have data like witness data. Let's say you want to get metadata label, also verify if the metadata is signed by a particular account. You cannot do that easily now. Of course, you can do through some lookup, but I think if we enrich some of the existing metadata, it will be easier. Similarly, we need to structure our error message so that it's easy for any non-Java developer to understand whenever there is an error, because by default it shows the Java stack. And there are some idea like we can also introduce some plugin like scheduler plugin, like if you want to create a plugin which should be executed like every 10 blocks or 20 blocks, because blocks are like a timer for us. So the scheduler plugin could be one kind of plugin where we can put any job scheduling task. And there are a few other things also, but from the developer tooling point of view, if you see, like each plugin needs has a custom domain object. So how do you basically identify which method to call or which attribute to access? The plan is to basically generate type interfaces for JavaScript and Python so that it's easily, you can go through it through autocomplete and other support. But I'll go through the documentation page, which has everything. But I think if you have ID integration, it will be quite easy. And there is a issue I mentioned here, where if you have any suggestion, probably you can provide your suggestion there, or just put a comment what you want to see in the plugin, and then we'll try to implement it in one of the future release. And yes, that's it. But before ending this session, I'll just go to the documentation side. If you go to store.yaci.xyz, this is the main documentation site for Yaci Store. And under plugin framework section, there's a getting started guide. It talks about everything I showed today, and there's a API guide which talks about all the storage extension point we have, like UTXO storage extension point or metadata storage extension point, and the domain object you need to use for this particular storage extension point. So it shows you all the attributes available there, right, in the domain object. And also there is a context variable page where it talks about all the variables currently available out of box and how do you access, right? If you want to access database, this is how you access. If you want to use HTTP or environment variable, you can access like this. And this is finally the plugin configuration. If you find any issue in the in the documentation, please feel free to reach out to us, create a issue, or reach out to us in the Discord. Thanks, Delisa.
Thank you very much. That was really, really insightful. It's a really game changer for anyone building Cardano. Very impressive. So just to be aware of the time now, I would like to call John Green for the ones that hang out into the end of the session.
Just a note that this promotional code will give you a 100% discount for your CBCA exam, which is the Cardano Blockchain Certified Associate exam, and that's hosted by Pearson VUE. So if you go to the the link shown here, you can register for the exam. But we also have a number of courses to prepare you for the exam. So you can do the CBCA course itself or the fundamentals course. And then you register with Pearson VUE, and this promotional code will give you a 100% discount. So all our courses on the Academy are 100% free and available to take. You just go to Cardano Foundation /Academy, where you can do the courses or register for the exam. So that's it. Thanks, Darlisa.
Thank you very much, John. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining the session. If anyone has any question, I will just ask you for hang on in the call. I will just stop the recording now.